بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Welcome to chapter 4.2b, Help Notes for Nahmad and Haywood, a new Arabic grammar. We left the last video with this slide where we were building up the bottom half of this table, in which we were comparing what nouns do with our analogy of shapes and their races. So we had worked out that instead of position at the end of a race, nouns, the action of a noun in a sentence is most important in determining its rank. If it is a mubtada or a khabar, then that noun is always marfu'. If it's the maf'ulun bihi, a word acted upon by a verb, then it is mansub. And if the word is ism majroor, affected by a harf jar, then that word is majroor. So that's how we work out which particular case or hal the noun takes. We also said that raf' is the actual name of the case. The noun itself in that position is called marfu', and nasb is the position in the second place, and and jar is a position if it is ism majroor. We also said that we would use these final letters to abbreviate, an ayn to mean marfu' or raf', ba to mean mansub or nasb, and ra to mean majroor or jar. So what's left is to work out the types of words so that we can give them their medals. The type we're going to first talk about is nouns which are called munsarif in Arabic, or sometimes in English they're called triptotes. And just remember the number 3. That comes from the first letters in triptot, T-R-I. To understand a munsarif noun, we're going to build up another table. We have our 3 cases, marfu', mansub, and majroor. And we're going to take a word, a noun, ard, and we're going to see what we do to it when it is marfu'. When it is marfu' and it doesn't have alif lam, i.e. it is nakira or indefinite, we put 2 dhammas on the last letter. And remember, this is how 2 dhammas are written in modern Arabic, whereas in the Quran you'll actually see 2 separate dhammas. It's just this little squiggle at the end that signifies 2 dhammas. So if I were to show you how it looks like in the Quran, you would actually see 2 dhammas. You see one, and then you'd see another dhamma like that. And sometimes you'd see it like that, and the other way around, and so on. So the variations on the same theme. Okay, but in modern Arabic, in text, they're written like that. If we had the word ard and it is mansub, we put 2 fathas at the end. And you would have thought that we would have just put 2 fathas. So what is this extra letter here doing there? The alif. The alif is called the alif at-tanween, and it's a spelling convention. Think of it as a spelling convention. Whenever you have a noun which is mansub and indefinite, we put this alif. There are some exceptions, and we will meet them as we go along. Ardin, if a word is majroor, we put 2 kasras. 2 kasras below the last letter on the word. So that deals with munsarif nouns when they are indefinite. Let's look at munsarif nouns when they are definite with an alif lam. Well, the rule is quite simple. We just put a single dhamma instead of a double dhamma. And likewise, we just put a single fatha, and the alif disappears because this alif is only there when you have a tanween, i.e. a doubling of the fatha vowel. And in the majroor state, we just put a kasra. So let us summarize this table like this. If we use the letter ayn at the end instead of writing the full word marfu', likewise we use just the letter ba instead of writing mansub, and majroor we just use the letter ra, we get ayn ba ra in the top row of our table. And instead of talking about indefinite and definite nouns, we're just going to use minus for nakira and plus for ma'rifah. Minus for indefinite and plus for definite nouns. And then it becomes much easier to see that when a munsarif noun is indefinite, the final letter of the noun will have a double dhamma, un. If it is mansoob, it'll have an an. If it's majroor, it'll have an in, 2 kasras. And don't forget this spelling convention alif if it has a double fatha. And if it is ma'rifa or definite, then it has a dhamma on the final letter, a fatha if it is mansoob, a dhamma if it's marfu, a fatha if it's mansoob, and a kasra if it's majroor. So now we've actually completed the bottom of our table. So we can tell from the action of a word whether it is marfu, mansoob or majroor. So the actions are mubtada, khabar, maf'ulun bihi, ism, majroor. Once we worked out the actions, then we work out the case, whether it's raf, nasb or jar. And then depending on the type of word, and so far we've only met one type, it's called munsarif. In English it's called a triptote. We can then work out what the medal should be. The equivalent of the medal is the vowel on the last letter. So if it's marfu and nakira, it's 2 dhammas. Mansoob, nakira, 2 fathas. Majroor, nakira, 2 kasras. Marfu, ma'rifa, 2 fathas. Marfu, ma'rifa, 1 fatha. Majroor, kasra, majroor, and ma'rifa, 1 kasra. Remember what nakira means, indefinite. We have met indefinite nouns without alif lam, and ma'rifa means definite with an alif lam. So let's rewrite this table so it becomes a bit more useful. So we're going to say goodbye to our geometric shapes now. So thank you very much for helping us. And we're just going to really start concentrating on the nouns. So in the geometric shapes we talked about position, rank, shape and medals. Here with nouns we're going to talk about action, a, case, type of word and sign. So we get a nice acronym called ACTS. So the A is the action, and the C is the case, and the T is a type of word, and S is the sign. Right. Let's do some acts. So if we put this all together in a slightly reworded table, then we'll see something a bit better. Right. What we do in this, I'm going to summarize, abbreviate the word mubtada with the first 2 letters of that word, mim and ba, mubtada. Khabar, khaf and ba, khabar. Maf'ulun bihi, we're going to use mim and bihi, mim fa or mim bihi. Ism majroor, alif for ism, and mim jim for majroor. So that's the first column in our table. And then we will have underneath that whether it's marfu, mansoob or majroor. And then on this side we will look, this whole row represents munsarif nouns. We're going to use the number 3 as an abbreviation, and then that's nakira, minus for nakira, plus for ma'rifa, and then we're going to work out the sign on the last letter. So if we think about acts, the A is dealing with this bit. We have to work out what is the action of a word. Is it a mubtada, khabar, maf'ulun bihi, or ism majroor? The C, once we've worked out what it is quite simple. We just say whether it's marfu, mansoob or majroor. That determines which column we're going to use. Then we go over to the right hand side and we look at the T. What type of word are we talking about? At the moment we only have one type, munsarif, but we have 2 subtypes in munsarif. Is it nakira or is it ma'rifa? Once we worked out which one it is, we know which row we're dealing with, and where the column and the row join, that's the S, the sign we're going to give our word. So I'm going to put this into some practical examples, and I'm just going to summarize this table, the acts table, so it looks a bit cleaner. Mim ba mubtada, khaf ba khabar, maf'ulun bihi, ism majroor, marfu', mansoob, majroor, munsarif, nakira, ma'rifa, and these are the signs on the last letter, and this is grey because it's a spelling convention. Okay, let's minimize this table over here, make it a bit smaller, and let's look at this word and see if we can use this table to work out what we should be doing. So we have the word an-nahr, and an-nahr, we said it's the first word in an A is B sentence, so that means it's the mubtada. So I'm going to do the first A bit here. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to work out that it's the mubtada. So the column, and therefore I know that the word has to be marfu. Okay, because as soon as I've said it's the mubtada, it means it's marfu. Then I have to ask myself, what type of word is this? And at the moment we've only dealt with one type, so we only know that it is munsarif. So there's a munsarif row, that's the row I'm going to use. And then I know the word is ma'rifa, okay, because it has the alif lam. This alif lam makes it ma'rifa here. So I then just look where this column and this row meet together, and that's the sign I'm going to use on the last letter. That's the medal I'm going to give this word. An-nahru. I look at the second word. The second word is a khabar, so I'm dealing with the same column, so it's also going to be marfu'. And I have to ask myself, what type of word is this? And the word is a munsarif word, because I haven't met any other types. And if you don't know what type of word is, it is munsarif. But it is not ma'rifa, this time it is nakira, because there's no alif lam. And so where these two meet, the marfu and the nakira is here. So I have to put a double dhamma on tawil. So tawil on the final letter. An-nahru tawilun. Right? Let's take another example. Ash-shari'u dayiqun. So again, I have an A is B sentence. So ash-shari' is going to be the mubtada. So there's my mubtada. And I know automatically the mubtada is marfu. So I've worked out which column to use. Now I have to look at the T. What type of word am I dealing with? And I just said if you don't know what type it is, it's a munsarif word. So it's munsarif, and then I have to look at whether it is ma'rifa or nakira. And there is the alif lam, it tells me it's ma'rifa. So I'm going to go down here, it's ma'rifa, and where these two meet, I look down the column and across the row, and it's going to be a single dhamma. Ash-shari'u. Now, if I look at dayiqun, let's just clear this. Right, let's look at dayiqun. So dayiqun is the second part of an A is B sentence. So therefore it's a khabar. And khabars are all marfu. So I know now which column to use. And then I'm going to do the T bit. So I've done the A is the action, A is the khabar, and C is that it's marfu. Now I'm going to look at the T, the type of word. As I said, we only know one type, so therefore it is munsarif. And I know that, is it ma'rifa or nakira? So I said it's nakira because there's no alif lam. And then I see where these two join, and that's this medal I'm going to give the word. So it's two dhammas on the last letter. So there are two dhammas. Okay, we already worked out ash-shari'u has one dhamma. Ash-shari'u dayiqun. Let's take another example. Ra'a duda. So in this example, remember the acts table only deals with nouns at the moment. So this is a verb, so we're not really worried about that. But the moment we have a verb, we know that this verb may be acting upon a noun, and here is a noun that it's acting upon. Okay, so remember we use this shape to say that there is our verb, and it's acting upon this noun. So duda, let's concentrate on the word duda. So it's a word that's being acted upon by a verb, and we know that's called a maf'ulun bihi. So there it is, maf'ulun bihi, and we know that the maf'ulun bihi, that's the A. So we worked out the action of the word duda, and then we look at the sign. So the case. The case is going to be the hal, so it is nasb or mansub. And then we look at the T. What type of word it is? Well, we know it is a munsarif word because we haven't met any other words. So all words are munsarif unless we know otherwise. And we know it is now nakira because there's no alif lam. So we take that row and we join them together and we get this. So what we should do is, where's my marker gone? Here. We put two fathas and there it is. We put two fathas, and according to this table we should put an alif, but it's a ta marbuta, so we don't put this alif here, so I put it in a dashed thing. We should have put an alif, but because it's ta marbuta we don't. So now we know how to say this properly. Ra'a dudatan.